Welcome to The Explainer. You know how we do it here. We take a look at really complex stuff and break it all down. Today, we're digging into a high power supply to figure out just what makes it so complicated.
All right, let's jump right in with a bit of a puzzle. We've got two power supplies here. Both of them are rated for 12 volts at 10 amps, but, just look at them. One is obviously way more complex than the other. You've got your basic flyback design here. It's simple, not a lot of parts. And then you have this thing, a push-pull design, and it's just loaded with extra components.
So that's the big question for today, right? Why all the extra stuff? If they're both supposed to deliver the same 120 watts, why isn't the simpler, cleaner design good enough? What's going on here? To get to the bottom of this, we're going to follow the journey of electricity through this more complex supply, starting right where you plug it into the wall. The first stop is all about taking that raw, messy power from your outlet and taming it. Okay, so it happens in 3 quick steps. First, a bunch of filters and something called a choke basically clean up any electrical noise or static on the power line. Then, a bridge rectifier takes that alternating current, the AC, and turns it into a pulsating direct current, or DC. And finally, these big capacitors act like little reservoirs, storing up that energy to smooth out all the pulses into one steady, high-voltage stream. Now, this is where it gets kinda wild. You'd think 220 volts from the wall would become 220 volts of DC, right? Nope. It actually jumps all the way up to 310 volts. And you might be wondering, how does that happen? Well, see, the AC voltage number is kind of like an average, but the rectifier and those big capacitors, they don't care about the average. They grab and hold on to the peak voltage of that AC sine wave, which is a whole lot higher. And check this out. This is just a brilliant piece of engineering, so this thing can be used anywhere in the world. When you're plugged into a 220-volt outlet, that 310 volts is split across 2 of the main capacitors. But if you flip this little switch for a 110-volt outlet, the whole circuit reconfigures itself into what's called a voltage doubler. It cleverly uses the AC cycle to charge each capacitor separately, and, you guessed it, it produces the exact same 310 volts. Pretty slick, huh? It guarantees the rest of the supply always gets the voltage it's designed for. So we've got our nice, clean, high-voltage DC. Let's get to the real heart of this machine. This is where the magic happens, and it's where the design gets its name. We call this a push-pull topology, and its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to take that stable 310-volt DC and just chop it up thousands and thousands of times per second, sending it through the main transformer as high-frequency AC. Think of it like 2 people pushing a swing, back and forth, perfectly in sync. So in one tiny, tiny fraction of a second, the first of 2 main transistors switches on. It pushes current through the primary winding of the transformer in one direction. This builds up a powerful magnetic field. And then bam, just like that, it shuts off, and the second transistor instantly fires up. It pulls current through that very same winding, but in the complete opposite direction. This constant, super fast, perfectly timed push and pull is the engine that drives this entire power supply. So you've got this high-speed, high-powered orchestra happening, but who's the conductor? Something has to be telling those transistors exactly when to switch with like microsecond precision. Well, it all comes down to this one little chip, the KA7500. This thing is the brain of the whole operation. It sits over on the safe, low-voltage side of the circuit, totally isolated from all that dangerous high-voltage stuff. And from its safe little perch, it sends out the super precise signals that control that whole push-pull dance, all while keeping a close eye on the final output. Okay, so all that crazy fast switching in the transformer, it's generating the power we need on the other side, but it's still a bit raw, not quite ready for prime time. We're close, but it needs one last stage of refinement. First thing we gotta do is wrangle that high-frequency AC coming out of the transformer. A set of special high-speed diodes turns it back into DC. Then a big inductor and another group of capacitors smooth everything out, filtering away any last little ripples to give us a rock-solid, stable DC voltage. And there you have it. That's the whole journey, from 220 volts of messy AC at the wall up to 310 volts of clean DC inside, and then all the way back down to the perfect, stable 12 volts DC we actually need. It's a pretty remarkable transformation when you think about it. So now that we've seen the whole process, we can finally circle back and answer that first question. Why? Why go through all this trouble? Why the extra parts, the complex design? Well, it all comes down to one crucial thing, a feedback loop. See, that little controller chip isn't just shouting out orders, it's also listening.
It's constantly measuring the output voltage. If it senses that voltage is starting to drop, even a tiny bit, it tells the transistors, hey, speed it up. If the voltage creeps a little too high, it tells them, okay, ease off, slow down a bit. And it's that constant back and forth, that intelligent active control, that allows this design to handle really high power loads so reliably. A simpler design just can't react this fast or this efficiently, especially when what you've plugged in suddenly demands a huge surge of power. The push-pull architecture, it's built for exactly that kind of demanding job. So you see, the complexity, it isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the whole point. Each one of those extra parts plays a critical role in this sophisticated system of control and regulation. And that system is absolutely essential for delivering high power safely and efficiently. It's just an amazing example, isn't it? How often the things that look simplest on the outside are powered by this incredible amount of hidden complexity on the inside. Really makes you look around and wonder, what other everyday things are hiding this kind of elegant engineering?